Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. John-Beilein came to the Cavaliers with impeccable credentials, a more than solid resume, and a desire to make it in the NBA where he could walk off into the sunset or at least take the golden parachute. So I've got a couple of questions. Did the Cavaliers protect themselves by having JB-Bickerstaff waiting in the wings? JB's father is a senior advisor in the Cavs front office. Looks a little fishy to me, but that's okay. Then there's Beilein at 67, who claimed that he talked to several coaches who have tried both levels, and he was convinced that he could do it. So the Cavs come in today at 14-40, which is about where most people expected them to be. So what surprised Beilein? He quit with about 4.5 years left on his contract. Why does he merit a buyout? He quit. He didn't get fired. He quit. He's not entitled to anything other than the 54 games that he coached, and not very well, I might add. We've got Dan Labbe here. We'll talk Browns and more. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine into our 24th year consecutively here on cleveland.com. Dan Labbe is here from cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. Dan, of course, does a great job covering the Cleveland Browns, but you know, some of the heat taken off the Browns now in the last couple of days with what the Cavaliers are doing or not doing.
Like the Cavs making the Browns look like the model organization in town all of a sudden with all of this John-Beilein stuff.
And then the Indians just do what they do every year, and everybody rips them for being the worst organization in town.
Yeah, they can't get a break. They're starting spring training, and they can't even own the headlines in this moment.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine at gmail.com. Dan Labbe is with us. Let's talk a little bit about the Cavaliers, and then we'll get into your expertise, the Cleveland Browns. John-Beilein and the Cavs apparently parting ways. I don't understand this. Help me out. You have any legal background?
No, I don't.
No? Have you ever been in legal trouble?
No, fortunately.
All right, well, help me out on this thing. What little I do know is that he quit. A settlement is when you're trying to negotiate an out. There was no negotiation there. He just decided to quit.
Yeah, it sounds like he wanted out, and that maybe there's going to be a role for him now still with the organization to help out in the draft. And maybe that's just sort of the contractual stuff. You've got to have something for him to do if you're not going to buy him out.
I suppose.
But yeah,
you mean if you want to pay him a little bit? He's got to do something.
Yeah, and this was a strange hire, I thought, to begin with. You're hiring a first-time NBA coach, right, and he was 66 at the time,
but
not 67.
Coaching, his background, his resume is impeccable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was fantastic at Michigan, the way he built that program. Probably the best teams they've had since the Fab 5 years. And it just didn't work here, and he decided for whatever reason he never really connected with the players, and he decided to move on.
They call him a drill sergeant, which is fine if you're controlling time and space and what you can, your clock, what you're actually getting playtime for. In college, you can have that.
Yeah.
Pro is a little different. You got guys with contractual agreements that have to play a certain amount, and they're not going to take the punishment of being sat down for bad behavior.
Yeah, you have guys that are making more money than you.
Yeah.
A guy like Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love.
Sure.
And,
although Beilein's getting pretty good.
Oh yeah, he's doing okay for himself. The weird thing is maybe they brought him in to connect with younger players,
right?
Since this team is so young, but it just never happened.
Well, they did that, and on the other side, they hired Bickerstaff to hang on in case something happens. That's like foreshadowing, I guess.
It's almost like when they hired David Blatt and then they brought Ty Lue in and made him the highest paid assistant, and then lo and behold, he took over.
But the Blatt thing, the Cavaliers didn't have LeBron James at the time, so it was a totally different hire than it turned out to be.
And then LeBron came back shortly after he was hired. Right. He didn't quite understand the job he was taking.
No, I don't think so. 216-575-0403. So JB-Bickerstaff, although it's not been stated officially, he undoubtedly will take over the role as interim coach. Let's look at what we know about JB-Bickerstaff. Assistant coach with the Bobcats Timberwolves and the Rockets. The Rockets interim head coach, that was during the 15-16 season when Kevin McHale was fired. Grizzly associate head coach, that's from 2016 to 17, and Grizzlies interim head coach as David Fizdale was fired as head coach in the 2018-19 season. So here you have it. 37-34 record with the Rockets, 15-48 interim coach with the Grizzlies, and then second time around, 33-49. So the numbers aren't real good, but you don't become a interim head coach if the numbers are good, right?
Yeah, you don't usually take over good teams or teams that are, maybe take over teams that are playing for high draft picks or something like that. But it's hard to look at that record and really judge what kind of coach he is. All
right, so we'll find out what the plan is. It was interesting because the word came out that Dan Gilbert was going to come and have sort of a press conference on Friday, and nobody had heard from him, obviously, since the stroke, and then he's faced with this dilemma.
Yeah, and again, it wasn't something that he was doing, right? It's not like he called John Beilein into his office and said, "Hey, we're going to move on from you." It was a decision from the coach.
No, but the timing of when Beilein was hired and when Dan was knocked out of action for a while was pretty close.
Yeah, it was, and it's good to see that he's doing better. And I know he did that long interview for Crain's Detroit that ran, I think it was last week. So it's good to see him doing better and getting more involved. But this is not exactly what you wanted to come back to.
All right, if Dan, of course, covers the Browns for cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. If you'd like to talk about what's going on with the Browns or what's going on with the Cavaliers, lines are open at 216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. Did you know the Ohio Lottery has paid out over $1 billion in winnings over the past 6 months? People are winning in record numbers, and winning is happening all around the state. Play an Ohio Lottery game and play it today. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. New content is posted each and every day. Well, Greg Robinson is in a little bit of trouble. The Browns, of course, have indicated they won't sign him, so Kevin-Stefanski doesn't have to deal with that one yet.
This was a sigh of relief, I think, from the Browns, because there's been so many little kind of fires here early on, and then this happens with Greg Robinson. But the reality was, once the new league year started, he was no longer going to be a Cleveland Brown, so it's not their problem.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come on back. Dan Labbe is with us. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions, or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a four-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today, February 19th, Paul Krause. He's a Hall of Famer, is he not? Minnesota Vikings defensive back.
I believe so.
Ludicrous. That's ludicrous. 1947. Roger Goodell, the commish, 1959. Mike Miller, former Cav. Dan Otero, former Indians pitcher. Cody Parker, the kicker. All born on the 19th of February. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dan Labbe is here, cleveland.com. And the Plain Dealer. So the news came out earlier, and we talked about it before the break. Greg Robinson arrested on possession of marijuana. Was he going from Texas to Mexico or Mexico to Texas?
I'm not entirely sure. But again, much like with the Browns, this is one of those things that it happened, but it's not going to be their problem at some point.
Right. And Stefanski gets to go back to his office and just go, whew, it's not on me.
Yeah, that decision was probably already made, but now it's definitely been made.
Are these things happening all over the place, or just does it seem like Cleveland's the only one?
I think sometimes we focus on it, obviously, because it's our market, and I cover the team, so I see all this stuff all the time. But it does always feel like the Cleveland Browns are in the spotlight for weird things and bizarre things. And sometimes it's legitimate like this, a guy getting arrested at the border. Sometimes it's just, look, the Browns drive traffic and they drive TV viewers nationwide. It really
it's
does
unbelievable.
happen. Yeah,
it
it's
is
amazing.
Unbelievable. So, all right, let's take a look at Greg Robinson's troublesome year. He was supposed to be a big help for the Browns. He was ejected from the home opener against Tennessee for kicking the safety, Kenny Vaccaro. Then he was benched. I've never quite heard it like this. Benched for ineffectiveness.
And really the only reason that he didn't remain benched is Justin McCray, the player that came in for him, wasn't very good at tackle.
Was more ineffective. He was arrested at the U.S.-Mexico border with marijuana. They was already informed by the Browns that he would not be re-signed by them. But those guys, other teams take chances on these guys, right?
Oh, sure. And this was a situation where John Dorsey looked at him, and Greg Robinson played well in the second half of 2018, and they took a low-risk flyer.
Right.
Had he reached some incentives, he might have ended up getting paid a little bit more money, but it wasn't a high risk. The biggest issue is that was their solution to the problem. And in reality, I think everybody kind of knew this was a guy who was a former number 2 pick, had flamed out in other places, and you were taking a risk relying on him as your left tackle.
And it's another one of John Dorsey's going out and getting guys that maybe other teams wouldn't take a chance at.
Yeah, and
I mean, he's got, how many does he have on his resume? Dorsey,
he's got
7
a lot.
or 8,
you can
maybe?
go back to Kansas City and find a bunch, and of course here in Cleveland a bunch. I do think he really liked Greg Robinson and felt like maybe with the right coach or the right people in charge, they could reach him, but it just never happened here.
All right, so here's some exciting news off the field. Ready?
I'm always
I'm
ready.
asking if you're ready. You, of course, probably broke the story. Odell Beckham says he's welcome a trade to the New York Jets. That appeared in Sports Illustrated. Where'd this come from?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was Odell Beckham that necessarily said it. It was some source that told this Sports Illustrated writer that if the Browns traded him, it could be to the Jets. I don't think there's really anything to this. I think we're still sort of an NFL silly season where rumors are going to get thrown out. It's a really slow time.
Right.
Odell Beckham, again, here's another guy that sort of drives page views and drives viewers.
Well,
and
Beckham and, with Jarvis Landry, all this brotherness and friendship and all that stuff. Oh no, I'll go to New England. To the New York Jets, no problem.
And I would wonder why, unless he really loved being in New York that much, why he would choose the Jets. Unless he really loves Sam Darnold. I mean, if the Browns were to put Odell Beckham on the market, I think there would be some real contenders.
Yeah.
The Browns would love to trade him to the Jets because they can get a higher pick for him.
Sure.
But I think there would be some real contenders that he could go play for if he wanted
based
to.
on 1 to 10, 10 being the highest odds, what do you think? Is Odell Beckham going to be a Cleveland Brown when opening day comes along?
10 is the highest.
10 is the highest.
I'll say 8. I think it's very likely. I won't rule anything out. I think it's very likely he's a Cleveland Brown.
Unless he gets. Stefanski gets into things and they don't hit it off. Who knows what that means?
Yeah, and Stefanski met with him shortly after I think he had his surgery,
right.
or shortly before. So they have talked, and I just think when you have a talent like that and you hope he's healthy, and if you can get him to show up in the spring and come to OTAs, I think that would be big, and I think that's important.
Doesn't he almost have to just to prove he's a team guy? Now, last year there were some reasons why, not good reasons, but there were reasons why it didn't happen. Doesn't he kind of owe it to his teammates to be there?
I think he does, even if it's not the whole thing, even if he wants to rehab wherever he is back in LA for a couple
right.
weeks. I think to be there, they're going to get an extra mini camp because they hired a new coach. The Browns are used to that by this time.
And when is that?
That will likely be after either the week of the draft or the week after the draft. So they'll have that. And that's an opportunity for him to show up and say, hey, I'm here, and then show up to some OTA practices.
Okay, so you've got the combines coming up next week, right?
Yes.
It's kind of sneaking up on us. There isn't
really
that
has.
much going on.
Yeah, and they changed the schedule a little bit. The workouts are going to be in prime time now.
So
I know every night you're going to
long?
be glued to the TV watching the 40
I'll tape
times
it and watch it at 4 in the morning.
the 3-cone, whatever it's called.
So you're going, right?
I will be there, yes.
Could you dress up as a player and try out?
I think
Defensive
people,
back, maybe?
I think people would figure it out pretty quickly when I ran like a 6'8"
So
40.
who will go and represent the Browns?
As far as I know, they're going to have a full swath of people there. They're going to have their assistants there. Of course, Kevin-Stefanski will be there. He'll talk. So will Andrew Berry. Their scouts will be there. What's interesting is there's a couple teams that are not sending everybody. I think Sean McVay is leaving some of his key assistants at home to kind of install their offense a little more and work on that.
Couldn't get a reservation at St. Elmo's?
Yeah, maybe they're trying to save some money on those shrimp cocktails or something like that. Yeah, there's a couple teams. I think the Broncos are doing it too. They're going to leave some people back. But as far as I know, at this point, I haven't heard that the Browns will.
The NFL, because of the way they control everything, the dates and the 12-month season and everything, they probably aren't happy with that, because if they find out that Denver and who else?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles. Find out that they get along without the being represented at the Combine, that may take some people away and maybe take off some of the excitement of the Combine. And
it's such an event on the NFL calendar, too, not just for fans, but I mean the whole NFL world just descends on Indianapolis, and there's a lot of backroom dealings and things like that, and free agency, which opens a couple weeks later. This is a key moment in the NFL calendar. It kind of turns the page from 2019 to 2020.
Is it exciting to be there? You turn around and you see, wherever you go, you see NFL people?
It actually really is, and now it's in the convention center downtown. It used to be at Lucas Oil. It was a little tougher. Everybody was sort of behind the scenes. Now people are just walking around the hallways, and then, of course, anyone who's been to Indianapolis, everything is centralized around that convention center.
It's a great downtown city.
Yeah, so you just see people walking around, out to dinner, scouts, coaches, agents. I mean, everybody just descends on the city.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Dan Labbe here, cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 great locations, east, west, and south. East, of course, is the Lakeland Boulevard, the former B&B Appliance Store. You've got West 140th Street, and of course south you've got Freeway Drive in Macedonia, and of course the great website northeastfactorydirect.com. And Alex started that business over 20 years ago with one piece of furniture, and it was a bedroom. I think it was a bedroom set, maybe just a mattress. And he turned that into making a profit, but still passing on the savings to the one customer that he had at that point. And look what he's turned it into 20 years later. One of the most successful marketing examples in the entire Northeast Ohio area. Northeast Factory Direct. When we come back, we'll identify the Browns' biggest need, as Dan Labbe thinks it is, or they are. Back in a moment. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Celebrate Naturestone's 30-year anniversary with a free Naturestone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making Naturestone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
Got your Ohio Lottery pick 3, I see.
Yep. Those glasses are hip.
Hip? Most people think I'm a square. But what's wrong with that? A box bet can increase your chances of winning. And what is a box? A square. There are so many ways to play. They're just coming out the wazoo. Oh, shucks. Look at me yammering on. Put a lid in it, Picky Ricky. Play the Ohio Lottery Pick 3 today.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for a How Come Quickie. Dan, how come Baltimore stole the St. Louis Browns in 1953 to become the Orioles? Then they stole the Cleveland Browns in 1996 to become the Ravens, but they're never called the Baltimore Steelers.
Should have done that.
They
Really
spelled it the correct
people.
way. Yeah, a little too much. Well, you had the Steagles, right, in the 40s. I think it was the
so,
Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles combined. All right, you a couple of days ago on cleveland.com, you wrote up what you think are the pressing needs for the Browns on the roster spot. Has anything changed since you wrote these out?
No, I don't think so. And Alex-van-pelt, when he talked today, mentioned that the offensive line is definitely an area of need. I think they need to probably find two starters at offensive tackle. I don't know that Chris-Hubbard is really the answer at right tackle either. They definitely need to find the left side. More edge rushers. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with olivier-vernon, but yeah, get more edge rushers in. At receiver, I think Kareem Hunt can be your third receiver if he's on the roster, but you've got to have some guys behind him and behind those top two guys. And then really both safety positions are an issue. Demarius Randall's probably gone. Morgan Burnett tore his Achilles. He's probably gone. You've got to find two new starters there.
All right, so where do you find them? In the draft, free agency, trade? What in the Browns situation? I mean, that's different than most other teams.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about the Browns situation is they can do it any number of ways. You know, they can attack those needs. It's not just the draft. They don't have to hit on every draft pick. They can sign a safety in free agency and draft a tackle. And, you know, maybe you draft a receiver late. Maybe you make a trade for a receiver if you have a draft pick that you don't mind giving up.
Right.
They have a lot of options. They have a lot of money and assets.
You met with the coordinators today.
Yes.
Impressed or not impressed? And if so, what were you impressed by?
I was impressed. And, you know, we've done this winning press conferences thing over and over again. But I was impressed. And I think you can see how all three of these guys kind of fit together. You know, last year it was sort of a lot of bravado. You know, I came here for because Baker Mayfield was here. I came here because this team is ready to win. This year, you really got the sense these guys came here to coach players up, and Baker Mayfield specifically. Alex-van-pelt wants to redo his footwork entirely. And to me, I think that's really important.
How do you do that? Or how did he say you do that?
Just reps over and over again. Because, you know, and he was asked, when guys get into kind of the heat of battle, they revert back to what they were. So you've just got to get those reps, mental reps, physical reps, over and over and over again.
Do you think he was saying that just about Baker, or was he saying it at quarterbacks in general?
I think just about Baker. I think he went back and watched last year, and I just think he felt his technique got a little sloppy.
Right.
And that his feet got a little sloppy. Some of that was because of the offensive line and him scrambling and moving around. But footwork's going to be important in this offense because we're going to see a lot of, play action like Kevin-Stefanski ran in Minnesota and a lot of, rollouts. There's going to be things where his feet have to be sound on the move.
Was it coach speak, or did you think he feels confident in Baker Mayfield?
I think he feels confident in him. I think
right now. I know he has to.
Yeah, and I don't think you take this job if you aren't. I don't think you take this job and if you don't
come in
Baker
the
Mayfield.
Interview and say, we got to get somebody else instead of Baker.
Yeah, and Jimmy Haslam made it clear that he believes Baker Mayfield is his quarterback. So if he's going to sign off on a hire or something like that, it's got to be a guy who believes in Baker Mayfield long term.
How about Joe Wood? What did he do that impressed you?
He didn't necessarily blow me away. It's harder to talk about defense, I think, than offense, because on offense you can focus on the quarterback, but there's so many other things. But I think the key was turnovers, right? We always hear that from the defensive coordinator.
Creating turnovers?
Yes, creating turnovers. And then the front four. He wants that front four to be able to create pressure like they did in San Francisco. And, I mentioned the edge rusher thing. He said, hey, I can never have too many edge rushers. So they want to add bodies there.
All right, what about Myles Garrett? What did he have to say about him?
Just kind of what everybody has to say about him. He's a really impressive guy.
Go out and play?
Go out and play. And, look, Myles Garrett is a physical specimen, right? And he's been impressive. He hasn't put up huge sack numbers necessarily in his career, although he was working on it before he got suspended this year. There's still so much upside with him, and I think he's really excited to put guys around him to make Myles better.
You haven't talked to Myles yet, but
no.
Do you feel that he can put all this stuff beside him and just go out and play football, or do you think this is going to stick with him all year?
I think it'll follow him around. It's going to be a topic of conversation. But
when
I
he's
also
on the road?
Yeah, for sure. And I think he can compartmentalize it. I think, football for a lot of these guys is sort of a safe haven. You get out on that field, and everything else is everything else. You're just there to play football. And I think Myles is a smart enough guy that he can put all of this aside and just go play football.
What do you think that was a couple of days ago? Just frustration on his part? Maybe he should have waited a while before he brought it up. It was only a day or two after he was reinstated. Or do you think he's so confident in he knows what happened that he could handle it?
I think the reason he answered the question is he's confident that what he said happened. Because he could have just said, I don't want to talk about it. We've moved on from that. The most interesting thing I thought was he went after the NFL a little bit for the audio. That was surprising a couple days after he got reinstated. I don't know if he needed to do that interview. I understand him wanting to do that interview, and he's trying to find a big national outlet. And Mina Kimes is a good interviewer.
You don't think he was badgered into saying something, do you?
I don't think he was. She asked a very straightforward question, what did he say? And that leaves a lot of wiggle room for Myles to say, I don't want to talk about it. That's in the past.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at real-les-levine@gmail.com. Explore your interests. Find a program at Tri-C that puts you on a path to a bright future. Tri-C offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go to tri-c.edu to find out more information. Coming up, the best options for the Browns in the draft. Tomorrow night, Phil Bova. He was a longtime referee from the greater Cleveland area. Bobby Knight, 35 years ago, threw that chair. He threw it at Phil Bova.
Right.
Phil will be in to discuss that and more tomorrow night. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Let's take a look at this date in sports history, February 19th, 1935. The Babe goes off to the Boston Braves, so the Yankees signed Lou Gehrig for 1 year at $30,000. Look at those numbers, $30,000 for Lou Gehrig in his prime at that point.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
How the game has changed money-wise.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. All right, so there's some big roster decisions. Dan Labbe is here, cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer covering the Cleveland Browns. Let's start off with Christian-Kirksey and find out what you think they're going to do this way. Signed a 4-year deal, $38 million extension in 2017. His contract cost $9.9 million against the cap in 2020. They would be hit with a $2.4 million in dead cap space if they cut him. And he only played 9 games in the last 2 seasons due to injuries. What do you do with Christian-Kirksey?
Yeah, this is the first year since that contract extension where they've really been financially able to move on from him because of the savings.
Right.
And I think it's going to be a hard case to bring him back, especially if they do decide to pay Joe Schobert. I don't think you can pay both of those guys. It would not surprise me if they decide to move on from Kirksey.
All right, next up, Olivier-Vernon. Everybody talking like he's gone already. What say you?
Again, it wouldn't surprise me if he's gone, but I don't know why you would do it. He's got 1 year left, $15 million. Why not just pay that money? I thought he was good when he was healthy. Now, that has been an issue over the last 3 years, is staying healthy. but I thought he was a good complement to Myles Garrett, and it's only 1 year. He's a free agent after
He
this
had
season.
3.5 sacks last year, lowest since his rookie year in 2012. You mentioned Chris-Hubbard, the offensive tackle. What do you think here?
If they go a different direction of both tackles, they've got to let Hubbard go. He's too expensive to be a swing tackle, and I don't know that he's been good enough. Again, this is one of those things, a John Dorsey signing. I know that Andrew Berry said that they view everybody as Cleveland Browns, but I do think there's still that tendency to move on from guys that you didn't bring in, especially if they don't fit financially or on the field.
Isn't that sort of ridiculous that you would cut a guy because somebody else drafted him?
It is, and I don't think that would be the driving reason behind it. Like with T.J. Carey, who they just released.
No, but it could be a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think it plays a role when it's a guy maybe you drafted versus a guy someone else drafted.
Sheldon-Richardson, defensive tackle, second year of a 3-year, $37 million contract. The cap number is over $13 million over the next two seasons. In 2019, he had 62 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles in 2019.
And I don't think you're moving on from Sheldon-Richardson, but you might give his agent a call and see if you can maybe do something a little different with that contract. Larry Ogunjobi's coming up in free agency after this season, and if you want to keep him and also continue to pay Richardson, you might want to redo that deal. I don't think you're moving on from him, but maybe you redo that contract.
If you're the agent and the phone rings and you see it's Andrew Berry, do you even answer it?
I think you do, because what can happen is some of that money that counts against the cap can turn into bonuses. It can turn into more guaranteed money. Because the reality is I think after this year, then you might consider moving on from Richardson, because he gets very expensive after this season.
Let's take a look at what the Browns might do. There's some mock drafts out there. They all indicate the same need, not necessarily the same player. Here you have Mel Kiper. He thinks that the number one guy should be Mekhi Becton, an offensive tackle from Louisville, 6'7", 369. Started as a freshman in 2017 in 10 games. First team All-ACC in 2019. What do you know about Mekhi Becton?
He's big, that's for sure, 6'7", 369 pounds. He's been one of those names that's been tossed around when people have targeted a tackle for the Browns.
All right, here you go, Jedrick Wills from Alabama. You can never go wrong with an Alabama guy, right?
You really can't. And an Alabama offensive lineman, they've produced good offensive linemen. If that's the way you go, you know you're getting a guy that's been coached up pretty well.
Well, Georgia did a good job coaching up their people. They turn out offensive tackle Andrew Thomas. He's 6'5" and 320. Started all 15 games at right tackle as a freshman. He was the Jacobs blocking back trophy winner in 2019, awarded to the best blocker in each conference. He was the representative from the SEC. What do you hear about him?
Well, and he's played a lot of games, too. You see up there, started all 15 games at right tackle as a freshman, then moved to left tackle. So this is a guy that has played a lot of games and has experience at both tackle positions.
216-575-0403 is the number to call if you want to talk to Dan Labbe, find out what he's thinking. And anything else about John Beilein. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Phil Bova will join us, one of the great officials in NCAA basketball, and had a lot of experience in the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that and more tomorrow night. Northeast Factory Direct with 3 great locations, east, west, and south, as well as northeastfactorydirect.com. And Alex started it out 20 years ago. It was a small garage in Lakewood with a single dining room, and there's no overhead at all. And he saw you could sell it, make a few dollars, and turn that over and save money to anybody else who wanted to come in and buy any of the great furniture pieces on display. Now you got hot tubs, you got mattresses, you got furniture, you got kitchen cabinets, all at Northeast Factory Direct or northeastfactorydirect.com. Sokolowski's University Inn, best place in town to go for lunch as far as I'm concerned. If you're downtown, plenty of free parking, great view of downtown Cleveland, and moderate priced food. We don't talk about that much, but we should. It is, even though it's one of the great restaurants in the city of Cleveland, you're talking about a very affordable lunchtime, and they're open 11 to 3 Monday through Friday, and Friday and Saturday nights for dinner at Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come on back in a moment. Dan Labbe is with us. More Sports and Les-levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your garage flooring again. Your concrete is cracked, uneven, and not safe. Paints and poly coatings don't last, are slippery, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects cracked, uneven concrete, eliminates slipping hazards, and is easy to clean. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Let's check out this date in Les-Levine history. 1999, Dan. Cleveland Magazine named its 99 most interesting people. It was suggested they should name the 99 most interesting people named Les, but they can only come up with 7.
Were you on that list?
No, it would have been 8.
Were you one of the 7?
No, I didn't make that. Which is the worst run Cleveland sports franchise? It's our Facebook question of the day. Let's check it out. John Marusa says, the Browns as the NFL and its revenue-sharing business model makes what the Haslams have done unimaginable. Daniel Chick says, the Browns. Luckily for Dan Gilbert, he had LeBron James, or the Cavs would be in par with the Browns on that one. Larry Pantages goes back to his writing career. Living through the darkest days of Ted Stepien and Art Modell, there was a feeling it would eventually end somehow. But thanks to today's modern sports economics, the Titanic will never sink and the deck chairs of bad managers will get swapped out. Wow.
Yeah.
That's from the former sports editor of the Akron Beacon Journal.
It's an interesting question because you do sort of wonder, how are we talking about the Cavs if LeBron James had been born in, Seattle,
add another 15
or
years,
Minneapolis or something like that?
It's unbelievable. You think the Lakers win it this year?
I think they have a chance. I still like the Clippers. I like their depth. I like their talent.
Yeah.
But it would be an incredible story if, just with the Kobe Bryant stuff, if the Lakers were able to win.
Milwaukee seems to have an fairly easy path on the way there.
Yeah, Boston has been tough. Philadelphia has been a little bit of a mess, but Milwaukee, I think it's Milwaukee's conference to lose at this point.
All right, if you can't get to us during the live show, which is done from 6 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time, the other 23 hours a day, you can go to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Leave us a message at 216-200-6650. Call anytime, leave a message. We'll use it on a future show. And I haven't figured this out yet. I keep arguing with the callers, and then I realize they're on tape. One of these days, I'm going to figure that out. We'll come back in a moment. We'll check out some How Come Quickies and more. If you want to get a call in, you can do that right now. More Sports and Les-Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again. Your concrete is uneven, damp, and not healthy. Carpet and tile don't last, breed mold and mildew, and give worthless warranties. Nature Stone permanently corrects uneven concrete and is not affected by dampness or moisture. And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, there are no hidden maintenance costs. Act now and save up to 50% with our volume discount pricing. Must be installed by the end of February. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
As I mentioned, Phil Bova, author of Throwing Back the Chair. He's the one that Bobby and I aimed that chair at, just slid right by, just a bit outside on that one. Phil will be here to talk about that. 35 years ago, that's hard to believe, wow. 35 years ago.
Yeah, Bobby Knight, didn't he just sort of reunite with Indiana basketball recently?
Yeah, well, that was a reunitedment. I don't know about that. It didn't seem like everybody was getting along very well on that. All right, let's check out some How Come Quickies. But before we do that, let's take a call. Let's go to South Carolina, to Greer, South Carolina. Ted's standing by. Hello, Ted.
Hello, Dan. Hello, Les. Good evening.
Hi, Dan. Or Ted.
Good evening. It's nice to speak with you, gentlemen. Hey, Dan, I appreciate your Browns coverage. I know it's stuff that you do. And wanted to ask you real quick, what do you think if you had 3 things you could really change with the Browns from a cultural standpoint or a player personnel standpoint or just from a scheme standpoint? What would you really do?
If I had to prioritize those, you mean?
Yeah.
I think culture is important. I think, you've got some personnel that you can win with, and I think scheme is something that all these guys are NFL coaches. They've been around. They know what they're doing. But I think culture and establishing a culture and what kind of organization you want to be is really important. I think it's important to this coaching staff. It's something they've talked about a lot.
There's one way to get culture. You win some football games.
Yeah.
That brings it on. I don't know if you can force it. Do you think you can force it?
I don't know that you can.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
And even winning, I think you can win a little bit if you don't have a great culture, but eventually, that's going to get exposed a little bit too.
Anything else?
What you're going to do in that category?
Yeah. Hey, Ted, we got to let you go. We got a bad connection. So sorry. Call us again next time. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think you can force it.
I don't either. And I think, I feel like what he said was how I think they're going to do in that situation. I think they have people in place who understand that. Sometimes it's a little easier said than done to actually put that culture in place, especially if you don't win. But I do think they have people in place who understand.
Yeah, you make a great point that all these guys have been around. They've seen it all. It's not like you got guys in rookie positions like Andrew Berry and Stefanski, but you also have guys who've been around some with the same organization and some with several different ones, and they see how it comes around.
Yeah, and then what you want to do is try and mesh all those philosophies into one. That's Kevin Stefanski's job. Get all that stuff on one page.
All right, Stuart writes in with a How Come Quickie. How come we're worried about the 2020 defense of the Browns with the suspension over? We're miles ahead. He says, come on, Les, Grin and Garrett.
See, that part right there, I think raises it a little bit. That was good.
Toledo Mike. I think we have some marital problems from some of our quickie people. Toledo Mike says, how come it's not true that married men live longer than single men? It just seems longer. Do you agree we got some problems out there?
I think so. I think there's some issues.
How about this one? John Patrick. How come before I was married, I never knew there was a wrong way to put milk back in the refrigerator? I know it's so politically incorrect, but that's sort of funny.
You could have a whole segment, just marriage counseling.
Yeah, that's on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Here. All right, what do you got? You got a couple minutes? Anything that you left off that you'd like to add or change?
Coordinator day was always interesting when you get to hear from these guys. And we've been over this winning press conferences thing over and over again. But I do think the 3 coordinators today, 1 we knew, 2 we didn't, I thought did a good job of laying out kind of how they see things and how they want to do things. And I did get a feel of sort of how everything fits together.
It's interesting with Prefer, who's been here, was here. How many leftover coaches? Just 2?
It's Prefer, it's Stump Mitchell.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe there's another one, and I'm blanking on who it is, but I think there's 3.
So do you think Stefanski calls him in his office and says, okay, give me the lowdown on so-and-so, or does he not want to know?
I think it's important, honestly, to have, and he talked about it a little bit today, to have someone who knows. When you're a special teams coach, you work with the entire roster,
sure.
Especially the bottom of the roster, that guys that maybe Kevin Stefanski doesn't know a lot about.
How come they haven't found a kickoff returner?
It's
in a long
it's
time.
Bizarre. I think Jabril Peppers had a chance. Maybe he showed some flashes.
Right.
This year, I think losing Antonio Callaway hurt. I think maybe they wanted him to do it a little bit, but I mean, frankly, he was just too much of a knucklehead. I don't know.
Word.
I don't know why they can't find one.
Do you think it's a priority, or do they just say, just be safe, just hold on to the ball and get us some kind of field position?
I think they want to find somebody, whether it's in the draft or whether they think they have somebody.
You can change the game around.
Yeah, and especially as teams. I think teams are trying more and more to avoid touchbacks and maybe make you make a decision a yard deep or even at the 1 yard line what you want to do.
They're telling the kicker just to get it to the 1 yard line?
I think there's opportunities there. Teams want to kick it down to the 1 and maybe cover and get you down at the 17 or 18.
Right.
And gain that 7 yards.
Would you coffin corner kick it? Would you kick it to the 1 yard line on the left sideline?
You'd have to be precise because if it goes out of bounds, that changes things a little bit. But I mean, if you could. Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think we're going to see more and more teams really try to encourage returns.
Well, I think they've learned. Do you also think, it's a copycat league, obviously. Do you think there's going to be more teams going for 2 at what seems like strange times?
I think so, especially as we see more and more analytics on the Browns. I'm curious to see how much they go for 2. And I've always wondered if you're the Kansas City Chiefs with all those weapons, why wouldn't you go for 2 every now and again?
And if you don't make it, you'll do it the next time and double up on it.
If you can hit on a little over 50%, you're going to end up scoring more points.
Yeah, I think some coaches are afraid of having to explain things when they don't work, rather than get patted on the back when it does.
Yeah, after the game, like if you do go 0 for 3 on 2-point conversions, you got to answer questions.
Get out of the locker room quick. All right, Dan, just so glad to have you here as always, and you'll be at the Combine. You looking for anything in particular there, or whatever happens?
Well, it's always interesting because we get to hear from the head coach on the record and the GM as well on the record. We don't get to hear from the GM that often throughout the year.
It's their first time of doing it.
First time at the Combine, yeah. And then we get some national folks asking them questions. So, and it's a chance to maybe meet a couple prospects and hear some guys talk that we might be talking to again in April.
Right. All right. Great to have you here as always. Dan Labbe, read him at cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. We'll see you tomorrow night with Phil Bova. Friday morning from 10 until 2, I'll be on 92.3 The Fan with Jeff Phelps in for Andy Baskin. We'll see you tomorrow. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.